Alright, so this character's pretty tanky. I wouldn't call him immortal, but he can handle sims just fine. But stun immune, ailment immune, and just has really good recovery, life gain on block, almost max spell block, but capped out attack block. And yeah, he's not immortal, but very hard to kill this guy. Doesn't have explode, but it does have Call of Steel, which we're impaling everything when we do this, and then after we've done a little bit of impaling, if we wanted to blow up the screen, we just call Call of Steel. This is not a cheap build by any means, and I've also kind of min-maxed it as much as I can. Every other upgrade after where my character's at is probably going to be like hundreds of divines, and I think I'm just going to try to get this guy to 100 and then move on to something new. This build hits fairly hard. It's somewhere in the range of 100 to 200 million, and the range is that big because it depends if you have Vol Reap up or not. That gives you more charges. If you are in the red Flesh and Stone, the Blood Stance, sorry, and how many of the Reaps you're hitting with. I think if you do it perfectly on big targets, you can hit 5 times, but I think 4 is pretty reasonable. Most of the damage is coming from these gloves, which impale on critical strike on spells, and then also just how high the level of Reap is. And I am achieving that by +2 from my amulet, +2 from wand, +1 from the shield, and then +4 from the chest. Chest itself doesn't matter as much. I think anything is good. Just the +4 is the important thing. Cast speed's mostly just coming from Coiling Whisper. It's using this tech. You get a soul, if you don't know, you get a soul if 90% of your hex expires on an enemy. So you want really low hex duration. And that comes from this ring, which just the base gives you 15% reduced, and then another 10% reduced from the anoint, and then it's using the main tech of just like bladefall of thratus, where hex touch also has a reduced duration. We want this level 1, and then less duration just needs to say 60, less skill effect duration. And then with those things combined, you have your temp chains on a low enough curse duration where by the time the projectiles comes down, 90% of the curse duration is already expired, so then you just get Soul Eater stacks. So to pair up with the Soul Eater stacks that you get from the Coiling Whisper ring, I am also using Righteous Fire of Arcane Devotion. This burns for your max mana instead of max life, so it's a little bit less, but it's still a degen on you. So you need a lot of life regen, especially because Reap itself has a life cost, and the life cost only goes up as you gain more blood charges. The way I've solved the regen problem is having a Merc. It's giving me vitality. I don't know if it's level 20, 27, don't really know. And then I have life regen rate on my helmet, and then also on my boots, and then I also have hardy. And all of that stuff combined gives me like a pretty nice 2k regen. And then if I hit something and create consecrated ground, because I'm also running zealotry, that gives me like another 700-800 regen. On top of that, since we're block capped on attacks and then almost block cap on spells, using a shield here that is giving me recover life on block, I think it's kind of mandatory if you want to do Sims to have a shield like this, or use something like Svalin, but Svalin is pretty crazy expensive. And I did just also want recovery, and I wanted to have a +1 on my shield. So some of the mitigations coming from the resists, they're 89, which is cool. It's coming from the flask, and 2 jewels that are giving +2/+2. Also, Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh, Stealing Chieftains, Valaco. And then, since I am a Juggernaut, I have easy access to endurance charges, which give physical and elemental damage reduction, and I'm running 6 of those. So the passive tree is not anything super fancy. It's using a bunch of cluster jewels. The physical ones are pretty good. I'm pathing over here in 2 levels, and then DD over here, and then I have a spell block, and I think this is giving me a little bit less, no, same amount of block as I would have gotten from just this wheel, but I just wanted the jewel slots. The only kind of fancy thing that I'm doing is just impossible escaping over here, and then I can pick up an additional curse, some reservation efficiency, and then some curse aura effect. I'm solving ailment immunity with the pretty common method these days, Storm Shroud, and then I am getting 100% chance to avoid shock from the boots. You can also get it on a flask, but I just chose to do it on the boots. I think that pretty much covers it. Just using a Lethal Pride here for double damage, some regen, double damage, and then Red Nightmare for block, and just tattooing the strength nodes with Fire Res, because that gives block. Alright, that's a wrap.